Good evening and welcome to Arizona Illustrated for Tuesday, the 26th of June, 2012. I'm Tony Paniagua. People across the country are still reacting to a decision from the U.S. Supreme Court about Arizona's controversial law to try to fight illegal immigration. 3 of the 4 parts were struck down, but the so-called stop and check element is being upheld. Political reporter Christopher Conover joins us now with some of the latest local developments. Christopher, so one of the confusions, I guess, is that a lot of people are referring to the part that was upheld as show me your papers. That's actually not the same thing.
Exactly. Actually, the show me your papers part was struck down. What was kept up was if you are stopped by law enforcement, you may be asked to prove you are in this country legally, whether you are a citizen, a naturalized citizen, you have a green card or a visa just to be here. But the show me your papers part was struck down. It said that if you were not a citizen, you had to carry papers to prove you were here legally. In state law, that was struck down. That was said to be part of the federal purview, not part of the state purview.
And I know that there's a lot of concern from law enforcement agencies such as the Tucson Police Department as to how they train their officers and how they proceed with this new mandate from the state of Arizona.
Exactly. This law has been on the books for a while, but of course it's been on hold as the courts worked through the different levels of the courts. Now the police are ready to, well, not ready to, but they have to implement this. And the questions are, how do they do it? Who do they call? How do they do the training correctly? Because they don't want to get on the wrong side of the law and of the Supreme Court ruling. So there's a lot of logistics about how this all gets implemented. Granted, we've only been at this a little over 24 hours, so things are still shaking out.
And of course, we've been hearing a lot about how some groups in the United States have wanted comprehensive immigration reform, including some moderate Republicans, but that hasn't really moved forward at all in the past few years. Absolutely.
In Congress and in the U.S. Senate, there was comprehensive immigration reform that was moving back when George Bush was president. George W. Bush, it was about 2007. Senators Kyle and McCain were very strongly behind it, and in the 11th hour, the whole thing fell apart. That was the last time we really saw a move for comprehensive immigration reform. We've heard a lot of talk about it, but it can't really get any traction. The political reality is we're now more or less in July. We have elections in August, primaries. We have the November elections. This is controversial. Congress is not going to touch this between now and the election. However, we're going to hear plenty about it, especially in our congressional races and probably in the presidential race also.
And in about 30 seconds or so, I guess one of the issues that always comes up is that if you provide comprehensive immigration reform, you're providing amnesty to people who broke the law in the first place, and that's how they got into this country.
And that's the controversy. What do they put in there? Do they put in a path to citizenship, and is that amnesty? And it all depends many times on where you come down on it politically, whether you view it as amnesty or a path to citizenship. What do we do with children who were brought across the so-called DREAM Act? There are so many moving parts on it, and that's why it's not something that gets solved quickly.
All right, Christopher Conover, thanks.
Thanks.
The city of Tucson is working on a multi-million-dollar modern streetcar project that supporters say will provide a big economic boost to the community when completed. However, some businesses are worried the construction chaos will be a big drain on their bottom line. In a few minutes, we'll talk to representatives from the 4th Avenue Business District. But first, Andrea Kelly gives us an update on the construction timeline and the developing relationship with local merchants.
Joining us in the studio now is Jessie Gutierrez, the construction project manager for the Tucson Modern Streetcar project, and Britton Dornquast, the RTA's MainStreet Business Assistance Program manager. Thank you both for being here today.
Thank you for having us.
Jessie, we'll start with you. Can you give us an update on the status of the modern streetcar construction? I think anybody who's driven downtown or near the U of A may have seen the construction, but where are we?
We're actually trying to expedite all the work along 3 of the line segments right now. Primarily the University of Arizona, the 4th Avenue Business District area, and the downtown section. What we are doing right now is installing all the water lines, getting all that done, underground preparations for the track. On 4th Avenue, you see the track already installed for the north portion from 6th to University. Primarily, this was our goal to get this done during this time frame, the summer, to minimize impact to all the stakeholders and businesses along that alignment. So right now, we're actually on track, on schedule to be completed with phase 1 of construction as we've planned.
And just really quick, what is phase 2? What's next after this part?
Phase 2 would be sections of the alignment that include curved track, special track, and some sections on the west side of the alignment.
And I know you have several deadlines you're meeting along the way. What's the overall goal for completing this project for people to be able to get on the streetcar and ride it?
The final completion with that includes the testing is we're expecting to be done in the winter of 2013, where we'll have revenue service.
But along the way, people might see the cars moving during the testing before it's actually ready to be finished.
Absolutely. We expect to have testing going on before that to prepare the vehicles and get them ready for that revenue service, get them online, so to speak.
Okay, excellent. And Britton, one big component of doing such a big project like this is dealing with the businesses that are along the routes. They can't just close, right? And they need to be able to stay open. So you're in charge of dealing with that problem. How do you manage that?
Well, it's a big problem in the sense that there are a lot of businesses along the streetcar route. We've been out in the trench now for 4 years prepping people for this day. Main Street services are very unique, and it's a part of the RTA plan, and we've been bringing people along for the years here leading up to the construction. We provide construction ombudsman during construction. We have a lot of consulting services that are available for the businesses, again, free of charge for the businesses, and a lot of additional resources that are available, everything from social media to mapping, construction readiness planning, a myriad of stuff that's available to the businesses, all free of charge.
And they can just call up and use these resources without paying anything?
They have. We've had hundreds of businesses utilize our services leading up to the project, and through the project we have people coming on all week long, all month long, as they sort of realize, hey, you know, I think I'll take advantage of this, or I've heard good things, or maybe I'm down to 5 or 10%, or, you know, the businesses that have taken advantage of this at this point have been successful with it, and the word spreads around, so they take advantage of it in terms of the other people in the corridor utilizing the services.
No, I'm sure you advise businesses to be prepared for a little bit of an impact with construction, but what should they expect otherwise? I mean, should they be still attracting customers?
Well, not every business is impacted. That's one of the things. We've identified 21 different variables, and so you can have a business sitting next to another business where one isn't down at all, and another one might be down 5 or 10, and another might be down 20 or 30. Why is that the case? Well, we've identified that, we understand that, and we've provided the services to try to rectify that. So the reality is there's no magic bullet here. There's a lot of little things that cumulatively can help businesses. The groups like 4th Avenue Merchants Association, Downtown Partnership, Main Gate, those groups have been doing things, the businesses themselves, the community at large. One of the biggest messages is we as a community need to get out and support the businesses in these districts. The streetcar is a great project, and there's construction going on, but it's one of many. So we want to look to support all those businesses in all the projects.
All right, great. Well, one of many updates we'll continue to have about the project as it continues. Thank you both.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We continue the discussion about the impact of the streetcar construction project in Tucson with businesses that are representing 4th Avenue. Joining us is Shannon Riggs. She is the co-owner of PopCycle, and Kurt Tallis is the Director of Events and Marketing for the 4th Avenue Merchants Association. Thanks for being here.
Thank you, Tony.
Thank you.
All right, let's begin with you, Shannon. So how long have you been on 4th Avenue, and what do you do there?
Our store's been there for nearly 4 years. We are a retail gift and gift store, I guess, and everything in the store is made from reclaimed materials. We don't really call it recycled because usually you can kind of tell what the product was before, so we call it upcycled.
And you've been there approximately 4 years. Did you know 4 years ago that the streetcar would someday be coming through?
No, we had no idea. It was a surprise.
Okay. And Kurt, so obviously you have been involved in the conversations about the streetcar project.
Absolutely.
And so tell us about how things are progressing along.
Well, we've got a lot of construction fencing. The dirt's flying. They're doing a tremendous job. I can't thank Granite enough. They're really boogieing on this job. They're about 3 weeks ahead. The north end of 4th Avenue should be open mid-July. And then they're going to be working on the south end of 4th Avenue from 6th Street to the underpass. And they'll be done by the end of November. And we got Street Fair December 7th, so we're going to be just fine. We got a number of programs that we're offering to people to come and shop 4th Avenue. The merchants definitely need your help. This is an unprecedented construction project, and we're hoping to bring more and more people down to 4th Avenue because history is being made right now. And now's a good time to take a look at it, see what's happening, because once it's done, then we're going into a different phase of development on 4th Avenue, of shopping, but we'll all be relieved when the dirt's gone.
Okay, we'll talk about the programs in just a second. But Shannon, so you're on the south side of 6th Avenue?
Yes.
6th Street, I'm sorry.
Yes,
You're on
6th
4th
Street,
Avenue
yes.
south
Yeah.
of 6th Street. So what is the situation for you like now at this moment?
Right now, it's pretty much as normal, actually. In this, it's summer coming on, the students are gone, the tourists are kind of petering away. So it's, we always expect it to slow down a little bit in the summer, but it hasn't been bad at all. And, the construction's moving to our section in about 6 weeks, or maybe 3 weeks probably. So then we'll see how it is then. But right now, it's fine.
And we were talking ahead of this interview that you say that June, July, and August are actually not your worst months either way.
Surprisingly. We always thought it would be when we opened, but it surprisingly hasn't. The locals in town kind of keep us afloat in the summertime. I think sometimes people like to come down to the Avenue when it's not as crowded, and they can kind of enjoy having, Tucson all to themselves in the summer.
Okay, Kurt, so tell us a little bit about some of the major programs you have going on right now.
Oh, geez, we got a lot of programs going on. One that I'd like to talk about is the Construction Workers Card. It's a discount card to participating merchants if this is in the window. And it turns out that there's over 300 construction workers on this job alone. That's not including the 200 construction workers that are working on the district. That's that great big high-rise behind Dairy Queen. A lot of construction workers in the area, their money's good. The other thing we have going on is what we call the 4x4 card. Then what this is a program that if you spend $4 at 4 different locations on 4th Avenue, you then turn that card in, you get a sticker on each one of these little 4s on your card. You then turn that into a participating merchant, you either get a $4 gift or a $4 discount, and you're automatically entered into a $40 shopping spree. We do this monthly. And then another program we have is called the Dig In to Win. The Dig In to Win is very simple. We're giving away a free iPad. So if you make a purchase at any participating merchant, you're automatically entered into win the free iPad. The more purchases you make, the better your chances of winning that iPad. Everybody loves an iPad. And finally, coming up in July, we have Where's Waldo? And the Waldo is going to be in 20 different locations. He's actually a 6-foot tall cardboard figure. That if you see Waldo at any of the participating merchants, the 20 locations, you then collect a card from that area. You collect 15 of those cards. Then you're now eligible for a raffle prize. And all the prizes, of course, are on our website at 4thavenue.org. So we've got a number of programs that are enhancements to bring people down to the Avenue when they're there to have a great experience. Because, 4th Avenue is about 100 merchants. I call it the Street of Dreams. I've got 100 merchants that are all dreamers. And so it's a unique place there for people to come and shop local, and to also be a part of something. You can buy anything anywhere. You can buy clothing or music or food anywhere, but on 4th Avenue, you're buying the experience. And it's much more than just going out. It's actually people watching. It's helping the economy. It's helping local businesses survive. So I think we got a lot of programs going on. People should come down to the construction zone, at least check it out at least once. And then give some of these merchants some business. I've got merchants that, of course, aren't doing bad, but there are some merchants that are down 60%. It really depends on where your location is in the construction and what kind of business you have. So they desperately need your help, especially during construction, because this is unprecedented. We've got 3 major commerce areas that have been shut down. And so we need people to come on down, participate.
All right. And Shannon, how important is it for you as a store owner that people do come out? And also, you were telling me you also try to support other merchants as well.
Yes, absolutely. Well, we can't, we got to walk the walk if we're going to talk the talk, right? So, we definitely, me and my 2 partners, we try to patronize the businesses on Congress and on 4th Avenue and the construction zones. Of course, it's very important. I mean, we might not have felt the impact yet, but we know next month that we're going to be feeling the impact of having our section of the street closed off and our parking disappearing and all of that. So the trolley is going to be a great thing, or the streetcar, sorry. But if there's nothing to shop at or visit when it comes in, then we're all going to be disappointed. So, yeah, definitely we want to make sure that we keep everybody afloat in the meantime.
Oh, well, excellent. Thank you, Shannon Riggs, co-owner of PopCycle, and Kurt Tallis, Events and Marketing for Fourth Avenue Merchants Association. Good luck to you. It's going to be a few more weeks or months before this all is completed. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony.
Thank you.
The modern streetcar should eventually provide a transportation option for some of Tucson's residents and visitors, but commuters are using other tools right now. Carpooling is one of them, as Caitlin Harrington tells us in this interview.
Joining me in the studio today is Mark Napier. He is the Associate Director of the Parking and Transportation Services on the University of Arizona campus. Thank you for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
Mark, we have you here to talk about, there's actually a few exciting events coming up for the Parking and Transportation Department here on campus. The big one is ZimRide, a carpooling service. Can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Yeah, we're very excited about bringing ZimRide to campus. What it is a social networking-based rideshare program. So it has very much like a Facebook interface, so people are very familiar with using that type of social networking. And it allows you to put in your preferences, your schedule, and so forth, to connect up with other people who are interested in ride-sharing, carpooling to the campus or even to other places, going back home for holidays and so forth.
Right now, ZimRide is in the soft launch period. Can you talk to us about how many people have already signed up and some of the preferences that people can actually go through and choose for people that they'll end up riding to campus with?
Yeah, we're very excited. We haven't really even officially launched this yet, but we've been leaking news that it's there out for a while. So people on their own accord have been searching it out. We have almost 300 people signed up, and we really haven't even launched it yet. And people are already connecting up because the site essentially works. We're in kind of a debugging phase, but it works already, and already people are connecting up and sharing rides. You can put all kinds of preferences on there. For instance, I'm not a smoker, or I like rap music, or I like country music, and your individual preferences, so you're not connected up to a rideshare event with somebody that you would feel uncomfortable with, or is listening to music that would make your hair fall out or something like that. So we try to make it so that it's an enjoyable experience and very easy to use interface.
And we did speak prior to this interview, going along with the preferences and making the people feel comfortable in carpooling. You don't necessarily have to be picked up at home. And you were talking about scheduling as well. They can work out the schedules together online?
Yes, you can be picked up wherever it's comfortable for you. So if there were a shopping complex near where you lived, you could say, this is where I want to be picked up. And the interface on ZimRide is very intuitive. It's already used in more than 100 college campuses across the country. So it's something they've refined over and over again. So they've got it to a very refined product. The interface from a user standpoint is very intuitive. You plug in your schedule, you plug in your preferences, where you'd like to be picked up, where you go on campus, and you put all those things in there, and then other people can query against that, and then you're connected up to somebody with the same interest and the same type of schedule in the same area. What we suspect is there's probably somebody 2 or 3 blocks from where you live that commutes about the same time that you do, that just aren't aware that you might want to rideshare, and this allows you to connect up.
And ZimRide did tell you their estimated number once it's fully launched of how many people might be joining this. What was that?
Well, they estimate that would be a good saturation to have about 1,500 people signed up. I'm optimistic that we already have 300 signed up. We haven't really even launched it yet, so I'm very optimistic that we will do better than that here on campus, because I think we have a pretty sustainable culture here at the University of Arizona, and that's a large part of the reason that Parking and Transportation launched this, is to keep the campus a more sustainable place. And I think students and faculty and staff are more environmentally conscious than ever, and $4 a gallon gas does help you become more environmentally conscious as well. So I think we'll have a very successful launch of this.
What is the importance of carpooling specifically for students on campus, and the importance as it relates to parking and transportation services?
Well, certainly there's a cost-sharing thing. So there's an economic driver, even if you're not swayed by the environmental aspect of carpooling. So there's an environmental driver to that, and an economic driver as well for faculty, staff, and students. But from a parking and transportation standpoint, we are about sustainability. We have to have a sustainable campus. In point of fact, we have about 18,000 parking places on campus, and about 50,000 people come here a day. So if everybody wanted a parking permit and tried to get here, we couldn't sustain that, for one thing. The roadways around the campus couldn't sustain it from a traffic management standpoint, and it would be environmentally irresponsible for us to do that. So it's very important to parking and transportation to be sustainable and part of the sustainable culture at the University of Arizona.
Mark, we have about a minute left. Can you talk to our audience about some of the other programs that Parking and Transportation offers?
Yes, we're going to continue with our bike valet program this year. That will remain free for all of next year. So people that have high-dollar bikes and don't want to park in a locked space can park in front of Bike Valet, right in front of the Nugent building. We've expanded our bike share program to meet more locations, more bicycles, and that will remain free this year. We're conducting a comprehensive bike pedestrian study to help people, pedestrians and bicycles, get to campus, navigate to campus and through campus in a more efficient way, and then to reduce bike pedestrian conflicts on campus, which we know there's quite a few of those. So we're working at that, bringing ZimRide online. We got a lot of exciting things that we're doing this year again.
Well, Mark, I thank you so much for joining me today, and we look forward to seeing the turnout from ZimRide when it fully launches.
Well, thank you for having me. It's been fun. Thank you.
The Temple of Music and Art serves as one of the anchors of the performing arts community in downtown Tucson. The temple opened in 1927 and was the culmination of the dedicated efforts of a group of women that wanted to have a venue and a meeting place for the developing culture of the time. Luis Carrion has the story, which includes new film footage about the building's construction.
This long-lost 16mm film footage shows a groundbreaking ceremony on Scott Avenue, just south of downtown Tucson. The year is 1926, and local dignitaries and the public have gathered to usher in the construction process for Tucson's Temple of Music and Art.
It was a wonderful snapshot in time.
Brooks Jeffrey is director of the Drockman Institute, a research and public service unit of the College of Architecture and Landscape Architecture at the University of Arizona. He says the Temple of Music and Art is one of the anchors of the downtown performing arts community, and the recently discovered footage reveals some details about its origins.
So here you saw both the groundbreaking, which was this event where they invited an Italian opera star of her day to come and take that first shovelful, and the whole celebration of what that meant to the arts community.
What the Temple of Music and Art meant to the arts community of the time was a dedicated space for music, theater, and culture. The effort to build the temple was led by a group of dedicated women known as the Saturday Morning Music Club.
The history of the Temple of Music and Art is really a number of different stories. One is really about the development of cultural institutions in a young, emerging town like Tucson in the 1920s. The other is about the role of women as patrons, as artists, as the benefactors of a variety of different movements, including the arts and culture. And the third is really about the architectural traditions that this building represents. This was one of the first masterpieces of the Spanish colonial revival style.
The Temple of Music and Art opened in 1927, and it consisted of 25,000 square feet that included a 947-seat performance space, with scene shops, dressing rooms, art galleries, and education facilities. For the women that led the efforts to make the building a reality, it represented a gathering place where the community could indulge in the arts.
And even the term temple, it has religious overtones to it, is that we should worship the arts and culture as a meaningful contribution to our culture.
All of us here were agog and delighted to see what the roots of this were.
David Ira Goldstein is the artistic director of the Arizona Theater Company.
This is when it's built.
The company currently calls the temple its home in southern Arizona. And according to Goldstein, the footage reveals how important the construction of the building was to the community at the time.
So now the woman whose picture is in the lobby.
She came up with the idea.
Okay, so she's probably in this footage. You can just sense in that footage the pride that the community took in launching this building. And it must have been an exciting time in Tucson in the late 20s. And it's fun to take a look at that footage and see what people looked like and what they wore.
Goldstein says he considers the temple one of the architectural treasures of the city. And although ATC has only been in the space since 1990, the artistic legacy of the building has deep roots within the community.
The 1920s were a really wonderful era for touring performers, both theatrical troupes, of course, but musicians, classical musicians, bands. I think a lot of the really great entertainers of the day were able to come here and perform in Tucson and really sort of opened the community up to a wider cultural outlook, which I think has maintained to this day and only grown.
Looking at the Temple of Music and Art today, it might be difficult to imagine that during the 80s, the building had fallen into disrepair, and it was nearly lost to developers who wanted to put up an office building in its place.
There were leaks in the roof. The whole backstage area had collapsed.
Don Guest is facility coordinator for the Arizona Theater Company. He says he remembers the building during a period of transition before it became home to ATC.
So, yeah, nothing's really changed except for we've kept it up. During the concerts, I would see water coming down the stairwells. I mean, that's how problematic the place was.
During the 80s, the arts community and the city worked together to buy out the developers and revitalize the then crumbling structure. According to Goldstein, Tucson was once again able to create a luxurious space where people could see and hear performances in an intimate setting and bask in the arts of the time.
We like to think of the Temple of Music and Art as a real community meeting place. We do our plays here, of course, many weeks out of the year, but we also host special presentations, musical performances, weddings, graduations. Other theater companies, of course, utilize the upstairs cabaret theater. So it's a pretty active place.
Looking at this film footage now from 1927, during the laying of the cornerstone for the Temple of Music and Art, one can only imagine what residents of the time expected from the legacy that they would be creating.
Yeah, the history of this building is about art institutions and cultural institutions struggling financially. And so these institutions continue to struggle to today. And so the fact that ATC has sustained this for so long is a real tribute to both them as an organization and the patrons that support it.
You can get more news and information on our website, azpm.org. To comment on any story you saw tonight, click on it online and go to the bottom. We can also be reached via Facebook and Twitter. Coming up tomorrow night, the University of Arizona's president reflects on his unexpected time in the position and his pending retirement. The citizens of Mexico are getting ready to elect a new president to lead their nation for the next 6 years. And a Tucson resident who is originally from Greece addresses the ongoing financial and political challenges in his native country. I'm Tony Paniagua. From all of us at Arizona Public Media, have a great night.